Hey, thank you for joining us. I appreciate it. It's 1 o'clock, about the clock on the wall. Just wanted to thank you for joining us and for this announcements. And I want to walk through a series of notes, and as well during that discussion, if you would just hold your questions to the end. I know you may have some, and we'll try to work through those as best we can. I have some resources here as well. If I can't address the question, we certainly will get back with you with those resources. I want to make an opening statement and then build into what our mission is today, is to communicate some effective, important information to parents and into our community. COVID-19 has certainly changed our world, and it has changed education as well, but I want to celebrate some things first. I first want to thank parents, and I want to thank our community. I want to thank teachers. I want to thank those who have a sincere interest in what's taking place in our school system, and I'll address that on down the road. Parents, I just want to say to you, thank you for your input, for your criticisms, for your helpful notes. All of those are very much appreciated, and they make a difference. Your message has been very clear to us in a variety of ways. Most importantly, you've asked us to provide some additional options for your children. We will talk about those options down the road. And teachers, your message is clear as well. The same fear that you have, the same concerns that you have, we share, and as well, with the COVID numbers rising daily, and certainly as a community we deal with that. I think looking at school start, as you have suggested in many ways, is an important piece as we evaluate trends of COVID-19 and how it impacts education. But first, let me back up. Over 2 months ago, we began a process of addressing COVID-19 and the return to school start of 2021. We established a very talented, very just fantastic team of individuals called Planning Ahead 2021 team, and they were charged by our board with developing some very specific recommendations about how to return to school. That group worked a good month dedicating their time and effort and making some very important recommendations, and their recommendations will continue to be the backbone of our work and our efforts to return to school, and will continue to be a guiding force in how we will put together a safe and appropriate, timely return to school. I and the board express our eternal gratefulness for their work, and I appreciate the efforts they put into place for returning students and employees to a safe school environment. And they're planning, that team as well has listened to you. Your board has listened to this community, and the staff has listened as well. And today is about talking about what we've heard and sharing some information about moving forward. Our board and our team are fantastically attached to your comments through email, phone call, visits. The information you've shared with us has made us address some things, and we appreciate that as well. I want to talk about our board. I tell you, they're educators at heart, and they sit behind me monthly several times, and they make decisions that are impactful, and they are a large reason for our success today. And I appreciate them as we navigate these very difficult waters. Truly, they're educators. They may serve as a board member, but they have a passion for what takes place in the classroom. Our announcement today is twofold. One is about a remote learning option for students coming in the fall, and as well about a delay in school start time. So I'll kind of walk through those as well. Our remote learning option today, we look for students. It will be offered for students returning to Santa Rosa County schools in the fall. That remote learning option will follow a student's normal bell schedule and will require students to sign in to certify their attendance, and that will be mandatory. Specific details of what that operates like and looks like will certainly be communicated to parents in the next few days. Let me talk about remote learning and its impact. For students, it allows them to walk alongside their peers on a daily basis that are in the classroom. However, it's not instruction online all day, and students will be asked to complete work offline at home, and they also will be asked to have a learning coach or an instructional coach to make that learning meaningful and useful as they walk through the online assignments. There's some required technology, and we will work together with parents to get students online and to provide students who do not have it with the resources they need in order to be online if they ask to be online. Parents, we will provide you with very specific directions for establishing an account that will allow you to register for this specific online communication and online instruction. That's important for us to share. You will be getting some of that information quickly. I suspect that by the end of the week or at latest middle of next week, our homepage will be populated with a just very specific step-by-step instruction of how to register for that remote learning opportunity and to move forward with your child selection for that if you so choose. You'll find this information on our homepage, and also you'll find that information on the homepage of each school. Let me be real clear to parents. This is not what you experienced in the spring. That's been said over and over again by educators. So what is the difference? Well, the difference in the spring is that in 6 days we stood up a school, basically, for students. This is far different from that. A, it's more rigorous. B, it's much more accountable. Every day, each day, as a student follows their class period, they will be required to sign in and check attendance, and then receive assignments from a teacher, receive the instruction, and then log off if need be, and to make plans for returning to the next period. That's a task that some students can't do. So as parents continue to look at options, make sure that we're educating ourselves and yourself and your child about what the expectations are not. It is very clear to us that students that can't operate in that environment or simply do not comply with those restrictions will be de-enrolled from that remote learning and re-enrolled back into a face-to-face instruction. Additionally, parents, when you look at the course offerings, you will not see some of the things that are offered in a face-to-face environment. Although limited and few in number, they are there. This complicates a student's schedule. And as you begin to evaluate whether the remote learning option is for you or your child, we specifically ask that you look and examine what your child's needs are, and as well as what they can accommodate within the brick and mortar, virtual instruction, and our remote learning opportunities as well. That remote learning opportunity we've stood up very quickly. Our board in Thursday's meeting will work on pushing that information out, and we will take action on making certain that that is available as soon as possible. Additionally, because of a multitude of reasons, we will ask our board to delay our school start to August the 24th for students. Teachers will return to work for pre-planning on August the 17th. And we are delaying for 4 very specific reasons. First, it gives us a very important piece of time to stand up our remote learning opportunity and gives parents and students a little more time in which to evaluate the options and make educated decisions. It also allows us to work on everything from transportation to minute academia. And if you've never been inside of a school setting, those are huge lifts. And we will call on our principals and administrators over the next few weeks to begin that work and to accomplish the task of being prepared for a remote learning opportunity. To be frank, this is a heavy lift. That extra time of delaying school is an important piece of us to be able to have that time to provide these opportunities. Additionally, we will have some time to prepare and provide training for our teachers as they begin to institute this learning option. A delay may, and I really bold-faced underline that word may, give us an opportunity and a better insight into what's taking place with the COVID-19 cases in our community. To be clear, we will comply with the Commissioner's executive order of starting school in August and starting it face-to-face. That is important. That is not an option for us to delay. However, as August the 24th approaches, we will evaluate very carefully what the COVID-19 cases look like and the impact that they may have on school before moving forward. Additionally, it is our chore and our duty and our responsibility to provide a safe environment. And we cannot do that without parents. We cannot do that with our community. So parents, that's important. We will challenge you to assist us in doing some of the things that make our schools safer. To be clear, I can't prevent COVID-19 from coming in my schools. I can't prevent it from coming into the gas station where I buy gas, or the food that the restaurant that I may eat at. I can't prevent it from coming in anywhere, but we will do our best to make certain that we provide a safe atmosphere for students and employees as we walk home. So this evening, I'll be calling parents and sharing this information. I hope they tune in to what we're doing here today And we will challenge them by August 3rd, we need a declination of what you need to do and what choice you have made for your child. That's important. That's a very quick turnaround. So in the absence but in the time frame in between, there's a lot of work that we need to do to educate parents and students on the options available. And we will begin to do that immediately. I will call home tonight, and we will begin to redirect parents to our homepage, which will have some resources. This video will be there, and they can listen to some of the specifics that we're talking about there. Establishing an online resource, giving step-by-step options is what we will begin to accomplish, and we will put that into place as soon as possible. These will be evident on our homepage and also on the homepage of the schools that students may attend. I will share with you as well in stepping up those online opportunities and giving very specific step-by-step directions. Parents will have the opportunity to educate themselves as well. Schools will need to reach out to parents, and parents will need to reach out to schools. That communication is vital as we walk through this event. So you will expect much communication from your school site over the next few weeks. Let's talk about next steps. Very clearly, lifting this requires a lot of work. Our district staff, our administrative staff, our school level staff and administrators will begin that work and have begun that work to make this take place immediately. On Thursday morning, I will bring to the board formally 3 items to support this work. The first is ask them to reconvene our calendar committee to produce a calendar supporting the start of school on August the 24th. Secondly, I ask the board to direct our staff to stand up, establish and facilitate a remote learning opportunity for our students. And thirdly, I will ask the board to mandate a face covering for students. My intent is simple. Do not disregard it. I want a safe environment. I want to protect students, and I certainly want to protect my employees. I'm asking parents for that help. Please send your child to school with a face covering and tell them to wear it. That's important. Last, I want to talk about our community. You might say, why would you address that in this arena? I began this conversation with appreciation for parents, appreciation for teachers, and I will end with that as well. Additionally, it's important to understand and for you to share and know that our parents and our community in support of education truly make a difference. We live and work in an amazing community, and in that community, education is important, and we see that. We see that with the fervor and passion of educators. We see that with the fervor and passion of parents who have given us very valuable input and suggestions, and we appreciate that work. We could not do this work and have a high-quality education system without their input. But it goes beyond that. As I shared, we live in an amazing community. I'll share with you, it's not widely known, but your Board of County Commissioners is helping us through their CARES dollars to stand up technology for students. We are eternally grateful for that work and look forward to this partnership moving on down the road. I especially want to thank Commissioner Lynchard for his vision regarding these dollars and the use of those dollars, CARES dollars, to supplement and to make certain that we have what we need in order to move forward. A lot of heavy lifting has to take place to make this happen, and this is an example of intentional support that really makes a difference in the lives of students. I appreciate the Commission for advancing those dollars and considering this partnership. In closing, the board and I are charged with providing the safest environment possible for students and employees and a high-quality education. We are educators, and it is our desire to provide a high-quality education. We want to do that. We will work diligently to accomplish those endeavors, and this year will not be perfect. We will make mistakes, and probably already have, but I never doubt that your teachers, your administrators, your board is sincerely dedicated to providing a high-quality education in a quality fashion. I appreciate the work of our community. I appreciate the input of our teachers. I appreciate the input of our parents. Certainly have made a difference in this decision, and together we'll move forward positively as we accomplish the goal of a remote learning option and establishing that in our schools and community as we move forward. I have some people here today who can assist with maybe some questions that you may have. To my left is Bill Emerson, Assistant Superintendent for Instructional Services. To his right, my left, is Buddy Highnote, Board Chair, and in the back is David Hicks, Assistant Superintendent for Technology Services. And those two individuals, two Assistant Superintendents, have a heavy job ahead of them to make all this happen as we move forward with establishing a remote learning opportunity. But the greatest lift, I will close with, is going to be on the shoulders of moms and dads. We need your assistance to make this work. We need your assistance to hold students accountable. And we need your assistance to make sure that we continue that work of providing a high quality education. I am confident, very confident, that we can do that and do that in a way that is meaningful for our students as we move forward. So I'll stop and maybe answer any questions that you may have, and we'll move forward with that. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, sir. So we're looking at pushing the school start date back to August 24th, and the school board will vote on that and a policy on the mask on Thursday, is that correct?
Correct, that's right.
Okay, and then you're recommended that students wear masks when they're transitioning, is that going to be?
We want them in a mask when they come to school. If they cannot socially distance appropriate, a mask will be required.
But will they have to wear them all day?
I can see times where there wouldn't be. I mean, if we're at recess or outside, I think if you can socially distance in a way, no. But if we're in an instructional setting, in a hallway, I see a mask as being important to providing a safe atmosphere.
And one other quick question.
Yeah.
As far as the high school sports, how could that impact scholarships? I'm getting a lot of questions with parents concerned about that.
Wow, thank you, Romy, I appreciate that. We're not there yet. As you are well aware, Monday evening, FHSAA held a meeting and moved forward with allowing, I guess is the best terminology, fall sports in the last 24 hours. That hasn't been our highest priority, but we will begin work on what that looks like for our students. If at all possible, let me be very clear, if at all possible, and I think I speak for all educators, we understand the value of those extracurricular activities. We understand the value of students engaging in that cooperative work, that teamwork. It is the salt and seasoning of schools, especially in a high school setting, but it goes beyond that. It goes beyond of making sure that we pave pathways for students as we move forward. So we want to support that. What that looks like, we don't yet know. All right, thank you. Other questions?
As far as just the social distancing aspect of everything, classrooms and buses,
Yeah.
what's kind of the key to handling that as you guys go into the school year?
That's a great question. We look at it this way: when possible and where possible, we're going to social distance without a doubt. And we're asking students to do that thing. There are very specific parameters inside the school setting, hallway passing, going to the cafeteria, media center services, all that have to be orchestrated within a school. And they're different at every school. The location of a cafeteria means a different pathway. So we're asking our administrators and have charged them with building those processes and practices to make certain that it's a safe environment or the safest environment as we walk through. Great question.
I was going to say too, the other thing as far as the athletics, I know the association, like you said, is allowing to move forward that
Right.
July 27th date, but every county and district is going to start differently. You know, are you guys going to discuss Thursday maybe what the plan is and how athletes will proceed forward into August? Because I know they are still allowed to work out even if they can't.
Yeah, of course, as you are well aware, we have established a summer program and have had good success with that program. And obviously, we've had to close and amalgamate that as we walk through the summer. I see no difference as we move into fall sports, other than it'll be a great deal more intensity, all right? So to answer your question, if at all possible, we want to support extracurricular activities in a way that supports students and gives them that venue in which to develop. We see the value of that. I don't think we will be ready by Thursday to advance that conversation, given that we are less than 24 hours into FHSAA. And although we have already started working on that and what that looks like, and I feel like we can get it done within the next week or so. Great question. Yes, ma'am.
Can you touch on the deadline again for parents, especially those maybe who have made a choice, but now that this one is available, they're not?
The plate is clean, per se. So we know some parents have opted for a virtual learning environment with our virtual school. That can continue, all right? What we will ask them to do very specifically, though, is to engage in our webpage. Some have already registered as a parent and have attached themselves to their child. And those are really important pieces. And when I say attach, it's a digital attachment. So After that's taken place, they can make a selection about whether they want a face-to-face brick and mortar traditional setting or a remote learning option or virtual option. And it really is up to them to make that choice. And as well, they can homeschool, and there are charter schools, private schools available. By August 3rd, we need that data, and here's why. It is normal process that late spring and early summer, we're building those student schedules, and it takes us a good 6 weeks to do that. So we're going to do it in 3, and that really is the important reason for the deadline. We know we have students moving in that we need to build capacity for, and we know that we have a heavy lift in organizing those schedules within the school setting. We just need that time in which to get it done. Great question. I'll add to that, all right? The functionality of building that, it sounds simple. It is not simple at all. It is very complicated. We are having still to comply with all regulations that control school settings. Something as simple as providing algebra at a certain period so a student can have access to it is a heavier lift when you start moving into the sequence of remote learning. So I share all that with you. It's not going to be perfect to begin with, but we feel very comfortable we can get to where we provide for the needs of all of our students.
What has been the breakdown so far of parents opting for virtual learning?
We had nearly 1,000 who have opted for a virtual environment.
Out of how many students in the district?
Around 29,857, I believe, yesterday. So give or take, it goes back and forth, really. To that point, if a parent has registered for a virtual school, they can deselect and return to a traditional setting, or they can remove themselves to the remote learning option as well.
And then you mentioned keeping schools safe is one of your #1 priorities, but you can't keep COVID out. I mean, what is the plan for when COVID does get into the classroom?
Great question. Probably another press conference, all right, where we can just sit and talk about that. We worked diligently with the health department over the past few weeks of building those decision trees of what happens when a student is diagnosed or identified as COVID positive, what happens when an employee tests positive, and even the setting that they're in. And I will share with you that there are a myriad of pathways that we have to travel. That will be directed by the health department very clearly. That's their responsibility. We aren't even skilled to do that, so we will trust them to guide us through that work very carefully. However, we do know we have some responsibility. It is a large lift for your health department right now, and my heart goes out to them for all they have to do, and we hope that we can assist in building that capacity. So there are obviously HIPAA laws that we have to follow, and we will follow those. And so much of that lift will be from the health department, but we will facilitate whatever we can for 2 really important reasons. The sooner we return a student to school, the more instructional time we can accommodate for that person. So we're concerned about that. I mean, we know our students have been out, and the small evaluation that we did during the summer, the learning loss is significant. And I won't go into all those details, but we don't want to delay anymore. Great question. Thank you for that. Yes, sir.
Can you talk about any new cleaning protocols that will be used with the COVID plan?
Sure. And through our CARES dollars, we've invested over $1 million in that additional cleaning mechanism. And without going into a lengthy piece, it is both focused on classroom, those pathways to classrooms, and those access points that students are involved in on a daily basis and employees are involved with on a daily basis. And it's all over the campus, but because at some schools it's a front office piece that we have to address. At other schools, it's not. And so, and if you're familiar with all of our schools, they're much different from each other. So it requires us to be very technical about each school. And we're developing and have developed that plan for cleaning on down the road, okay? Good question. Awesome stuff.
If that virtual option, if they select that,
Yeah.
do they have to stick with that throughout the fall, or
Another
can they
great-
return once the school?
Another great question. Absolutely. The question is, we're asking parents and students to select, and that commitment is good through Christmas. And we need that continuity. We need that consistency. If you can imagine having to yet rechange your entire schedule because of these constant influxes, it's just not doable. And so we're not going to ask our schools to do that. And we're not going to ask teachers to have this constant pathway of students in and out of classes. We need the consistency of the classroom to protect that learning environment, to make sure that we provide a high-quality education. Certainly, there will be parents and students who get in the middle of remote learning and say, I need to do something else. There are other options that they can pursue. That would be a charter, homeschool basis, or maybe even private school. A virtual option can come. There's just some provider issues with that as well. Yes?
What was last, I guess, motivating factor that got the district to issue this remote option, this third option?
Yeah, parents, clearly. I appreciate that. And I started off with that. But let me end with that, okay? Not that I'm stop asking questions or answering questions. Yeah, you know, it's so important to understand the value of parents. We are successful, truly successful, because parents are supportive. And that support sometimes raises its ugly head in some negativity, but you have to accept that. As educators and as leaders, we have to listen to that. This board has listened very clearly, and this administration has listened very clearly. We go back to 2 months ago when our planning ahead team did not select that as an option. There were clear reasons why, and I support that wholeheartedly. But I'll tell you, they reconvened. They listened, and your board listened, and that planning ahead team reconvened and examined data that had been presented by parents, by teachers, and by students, and said, this is an option we need to declare as a useful option. So I smile when I say this. You know, as much as I have had hundreds of emails, maybe even thousands of emails. I appreciate every one. I think I still have some I haven't returned. I'll get to them, all right? It may be September, but I'll get to them. But I appreciate the impact. And Mr. Hino can also share, it wasn't all just criticism. It was a big why, that's important, but more importantly, they also offered suggestions for us on how to move forward in a positive manner. And my teachers, they did as well. And I just got to applaud them for standing in there and holding and making certain they honored the commitment of students. That sounds so trite and trivial, and I'm speaking from the heart, but it is huge for the success of Santa Rosa County schools. The day our parents don't care, the day our school system is going awry, and they care, so I appreciate that. Good question. All right, I'll stop, all right? And I'm available as an individual. I'll ask Mr. Hino if he has anything he wants to add too. Mr. Emerson, of course, can answer all of your questions about what instructional, no, that's not true, all right? He's very talented, but there are still some unknown issues, okay? Anything I need to add? Questions? Thank you for joining us. I appreciate that.